It is said that you don't get harmony when everybody sings the same note. Misfit people come in all colors and both genders. Some have green eyes and some have red heads. Some got afros and some were bald. Some wear weaves and some wear nothing. Misfit people, some are educated and some are not so educated. Some are beautiful and some are not so beautiful, but they are misfit people. You know this from the inside of you, that no matter how hard you try to rest in and fit in with people, something always happens that makes you jump and get out of the nest because you never quite fit with anybody. These misfit people understand very well what I'm talking about. But what you don't yet understand is that the misfit is part of the methodology of God. He never intended for you to fit. If you would have fit in with the Hebrews, you can't leave what you fit in with. If you would have fit in with the Egyptians, you can't rebuke a devil you've been sleeping with. If you would have fit in with the Midianites, you would have missed your destiny and built a house in a desert that God never intended for you to stay in. And so that feeling of never fitting in is not that you're lost, but it's God's signal in leading you from faith to faith and from glory to glory, because the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and the Lord delights in his way. Your uniqueness is a gift as it qualifies you alone to be the best version of yourself. If you are a misfit, you're a marvel. You're a miracle. You're peculiar. You are special. You're unique. Yes, that's why you stand out. There has never and will never be anyone like you. You have to believe we are called for an important purpose. People who seek after the Lord's calling don't always fit in with other people. But some of you are forsaking your calling trying to find something big and impressive so people will think you're important. But let me tell you something. People think you're important will not raise self-esteem. That's why they call it self-esteem. Until you think highly of yourself, me thinking highly of you will never be enough. You've got to believe that what you are called to do is important. Because, let me tell you something, until you believe that, you won't do small things with excellence. And if you don't do small things with excellence, you'll never get big things. Misfits deal with the double-edged reality of having our differences act as the source of both our challenges as well as our successes. Misfit people are game changers. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. You can be a survivor of abuse. You can be an ex-con. You can be a homeless person. You can lose all your money or your job or a husband or a wife or the worst thing imaginable, a child. You can lose your marbles. You can be standing inside your own failure, a small sad stone in your throat, and still you are beautiful. Your story is worth hearing because you're rare and phenomenal. Misfit people are the only one in the world who can tell the story the way that only you can. Frank has always been attracted to broken things. He was the kind of boy who talked the bad girls through their problems and who defended them and didn't take advantage of them. He was sensitive to his stuffed animals' feelings by rotating their position on his bed, so that a new plush animal would occupy pride of place at his pillow side every night. Soon he became first and foremost on that pillow, princess of the island of misfit toys. If you constantly look stupid somewhere, you might be a genius but in the wrong place. Average minds fit in anywhere. It's intelligence that doesn't fit. If you're a misfit and feel out of place or you don't like how you look, it's okay because someone will. But you need to love yourself. There was a true story of two young men who were attending the University of Southern California together. They decided to take a trip together during their summer break. So they saved up their money to go to India, and they spent the whole summer there with their backpacks on, taking trains and seeing the cities and the countryside. They saw millions of poor people. They had never seen such poverty before. They had never seen such filth. They were overwhelmed. And one day, they were in a hostel, and one of the guys looked out of a second-story window. As far as his eyes could see, he saw poverty-stricken Indian people. They were barefoot, living in the mud. The men had no shirts on, and the children were naked. Flies were swarming and crawling all over them. He said to his friend, "Oh gosh man, look at all the poor people. They don't have any shoes on, and they don't even have clothes." His buddy came to the window. He said, "Yeah, man, wow. What a place for a shoe business." That's all he said. The two guys went back home and returned to college. They were both in the same classes. They were both studying business administration. As the second guy sat in class, he could not get the pictures of India out of his mind. He saw all those bare feet. So he started sketching on a piece of paper in the back of the class. He ended up designing a pair of shoes that could be made out of plastic and mass-produced. He decided to drop out of school against people's advice because he had obsessed with this idea about shoes for India. His friends said to him, "You are crazy. You have to stay in school and get a job so you can make a living." But the guy had this idea, and he was going to see what he could do with it. So he got somebody to make a prototype, and he found a company that said they could produce it for 15 cents a pair. He went to his brother's friend for startup financing. His brother's friend said, "Do you have a market for these shoes?" He said yes. Within 12 months, they had produced over 3 million pairs of shoes, and they shipped them to some of the big cities in India. The guy became a millionaire in 1 year. He never did go back to school. When his friend graduated the following year, he hired him to be his accountant. It may look very stupid to drop out of school to pursue your dreams, but certainly you are making headway to impacting your world. When Bill Gates dropped out of school, his course mates thought that he won't be able to make it in the society. But today, you and I are benefiting from the use of Microsoft Computer. Thank God Henry Ford didn't listen to Thomas Edison's negative counsel on making a moving object with 4 wheels. Maybe by now, you and I will be trekking miles upon miles. You know the importance of Facebook in the society. Thank God Mark Zuckerberg dropped out of school to focus on his dream. Because one believes in oneself. One doesn't try to convince others. Because when you are content with yourself, you don't need others' approval. Only after you have accepted yourself will the whole world accept you. Nelson Mandela served 27 years in prison, split between Robben Island, Paulsmoor Prison and Victor Verster Prison. Amid growing domestic and international pressure and with fears of a racial civil war, President F.W. de Klerk released him in 1990. Mandela and de Klerk led efforts to negotiate an end to apartheid, which resulted in the 1994 multiracial general election, in which Mandela led the ANC to victory and became president, leading a broad coalition government which promulgated a new constitution. Mandela emphasized reconciliation between the country's racial groups and created the Truth and Reconciliation Commission to investigate past human rights abuses. What will propel a man to choose to spend 27 years of his life in prison for the purpose of fighting for the right of the South African? It doesn't make sense to the common man. There is something inherently valuable about being a misfit. It's not to say that every person who has artistic talent was a social outcast, but there is definitely a value for identifying yourself differently and being proud that you are different. The longer you go by yourself, the weirder you get. And the weirder you get, the longer you go by yourself. Be happy that you are misfit because you are unique. God created you so, and everything He made He confirmed to be good.